Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And today's guest, Avery Johnson, is a yogi. And him and his family own Sweat Yoga Studio in Albuquerque, and they're giving a really great deal at the end of this for you to get started. But we go into deep detail on how to start, what to do, and what it does for you. So I hope you enjoy. So Avery, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kara. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. So you're very, as I said in the intro, you're very into yoga, and I'm a baby at it, comparatively, I'm sure, comparatively. And I would like our folks to be able to walk away from today knowing some basic things that they can do to start their yoga at home if they want to. Where should they start?
I mean, you can start the second you hear this, because a lot of the time, it depends on who you ask, but yoga doesn't require you to have mat and a space and a practice or like a set thing when you're getting started. And so what I want you to think about is that you could be doing yoga in an instant. You could be doing yoga right now. What I mean by that is if you begin to pay attention to how you respond or how you react or how your inner experience or what your inner experience is, that's a big part of what yoga is trying to accomplish. Now, the rest of it, the asanas, the physical practice, the breathing, the space, the mat, right? That accelerates that, okay? And that just sort of takes that to the next level.
Ooh, this is going to be fun. So you're saying that yoga is more mental than physical?
It's more of a state of mind, right? It's something that you can bring off the mat. That's what the practice is about. You want to be able to bring the skill of paying attention to, in general, paying attention to how you respond, paying attention to your inner experience. Take that, make it difficult on the mat, and then take the muscle that you're flexing, that paying attention muscle, off of the mat into rest of life.
Okay, so can you give us an example of that?
Sure. So a great example would be a member of your family or someone you work with or some interaction that you have on a day-to-day basis. The next time you have that interaction that you've had before, maybe pay attention to what you're thinking and what your feelings are and where your heart rate goes and where your breath is. If it's up here, kind of short and choppy, kind of up here, you're stressing yourself out. You're doing that to yourself, right? But if you kind of lengthen your inhales and deepen your exhales on purpose, then it changes it. And that's what you'll notice. So I think a good example is just any interaction or any experience that you foresee coming. Like if you look at your schedule and you're like, okay, I have this meeting at 2:00 that I'm a little nervous about, right? That is a great opportunity for you to be like, okay, at 2:00 I'm going to really pay attention to how I handle this and how I respond and how I show up. So.
Okay, so self-awareness.
Yeah.
Phew. How often do you think most people are self-aware?
A lot less often than they ought to be, I would say. And it's hard. It's so hard. It's one of those things that you can totally not think about and not even notice, right? Just like breathing.
Right.
You don't have to remember to breathe, right? But when you do remember to breathe and you do it on purpose, some really beautiful things happen there.
It's very true. So I did a mastermind recently, and my yogi friend here was on the front row, and that was so helpful when I was talking about breathing. So let's go into breathing. Someone has never done yoga before whatsoever. What is important about breathing? How should they begin?
I think the bottom line there is to do it on purpose, is to do things starting with your breath. Again, this is sort of a practice. This is another muscle that you're exercising. Doing it on purpose, sitting down and focusing on your breath in and out, big, full, complete, on-purpose breaths. That in and of itself is a big enough challenge for a long time. Like that never really gets that much easier, right? To sit down and really breathe on purpose, your mind will go 100 different places in a span of a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that is a big part of the breath practice.
So what does it help? I hear you saying that, how's it gonna benefit me?
I think it's going to benefit you because as you flex the muscle of doing things on purpose and paying attention, then that becomes more or less a habit. And you carry that into other things, right? You'll start to catch yourself in interactions and in life and, you know, in the rest of your practice, where it's like, okay, that used to make me really aggravated. That used to make me sweat and make me feel hot, and like really, and now I know how to deal with it. Now I know how to, like, okay, stop, breathe on purpose, and control your inner experience, because I think on purpose breathing gives you some control over your inner experience. And if you control your inner experience, you are controlling how you respond and react to your outer experience. And that's how you manage your perception of what's going on around you.
So it helps you to respond instead of react, maybe?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we are habitual
Mm-hmm.
completely.
Mm-hmm.
We do the same thing and we're completely unaware. Have you ever driven to work and gone, oh my gosh, how did I get here?
Yep.
Right?
Sure.
And so that it's helpful that we can be habitual, but it also can be very detrimental.
Totally. Yeah.
So what would you say in your own life? You started yoga at 18. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think something like that. My first class was when I was a senior in high school. So yeah, 17 or 18.
Okay, so that's wild in and of itself. You got this strapping young man who's 18 years old and he's going to sit and go, How did your parents talk you into this?
It's a funny story. Maybe it's funny, depending on who you are. We actually didn't do yoga growing up, or my parents weren't really into it until 2016, 2015 or 2016. And we were living here. I was born and raised in the Placitas area, and there was a studio in Albuquerque called Sweat Yoga Studio. And my uncle had been doing yoga for years and years and years. And he moved here from New York with his family. And he started going to Sweat in Albuquerque. And he told my dad about it because at the time they worked together. And my uncle, Nelson, brought my dad to his first class in probably 2015, something like that. And right then and there, he got hooked. My dad just was like, oh man, this is serious. This is real. This is unlike anything else, right? Because a lot of the time you can go to yoga for fitness, but there's really something deeper going on there. Okay, so he gets hooked. And he starts going and going, and my mom's like, I don't know, maybe that's a little weird. Like, you're doing yoga, I'm over here taking walks and going on runs and stuff, right? And in 2017, the whole family moved to Europe. We all relocated. My dad got a job, I got a transfer during college, and at that time, it was a very stressful time. Going and doing that, it was like, you know, a huge acceleration in life. And we were all sort of like, okay, we need a little bit of something to kind of relieve stress. And my dad is like, guys, I've been telling you for a couple of years now that, you know, yoga is kind of the key here. We need to, like, you know, breathe on purpose and move and connect breath to movement and do all these things that he was learning. And so by the time we came back, which was late 2017, we had already all sort of gotten a little bit more comfortable with yoga. And so we come back to New Mexico, and the Sweat Yoga Studio, of course, is still there. And so now we all start going. We all come back to New Mexico, and we all sort of felt lost. Like, okay, now what, right? Because we just had this big, amazing experience out in Europe. We lived in Austria, and it was just this, you know, it was like a dream, right? We come home, and basically we all get hooked on yoga because we all start going, and we're all like, man, this is serious. My dad goes to yoga teacher training at that studio. Shortly after he finishes, he starts teaching a lot, and then he convinces my mom to go do yoga school, yoga teacher training. And by 2019, I was doing teacher training. And so it was sort of this little domino effect of like my dad, then my mom, then me, and then my brother. And so now we're all teachers. And so ever since I finished my yoga school in 2019, and it's been a pretty consistent practice ever since then. And so it's been a very big part of our lives. And when my parents finished their teacher training, the owners of that studio convinced them to buy the studio because they were like, you two would be perfect for this. You two are who we want to leave this to, right? And so that happens, and Sweat Yoga Studio becomes a Johnson family owned business, and it becomes like a family project for all of us. And so that's kind of how it all happened.
That is so cool. There's so much to unpack there, and the big thing I want to unpack is, you said your dad got hooked, and then you got hooked, and your mom got hooked.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? What changed in your life that would make you say, I'm going to turn
Yeah.
my entire life around and go this route?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a book by Eddie Stern called One Simple Thing. And one of the points that he makes in that book is that people that do yoga and people that recognize the good of what yoga has to provide is one simple thing. It makes you feel a different way. Like, you feel different from before practice compared to after practice, and you can say that about a lot of workouts and about a lot of physical things, but it's different with yoga because it's so much more intentional. It's so much more mentally involved, where some people call it a moving meditation, right? So you're moving through this meditation, you're trying to hang on to this intentional breath and mindset this whole time. And by the end of an hour practice, or even longer, there's multiple hour practices out there, you feel incredibly grounded. You feel like light and full of life, and you're just ready to go, right? And so that's what I mean when I say hooked, right? Like, oh, there's something here, right? There's something important that I need to attach myself to here.
You know, I don't know when it was. It was well over a decade ago, but I saw Raquel Welch on something. And she was like 72 years old at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys, no exaggeration, she was cut. Her body was beautiful, and all she did was yoga.
Mm-hmm.
That was her whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have the physical, you can be much better physically and mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go into the waterfall thing that you were talked about at the mastermind?
Oh, sure. That's sort of a meditation thing. So if you're totally unfamiliar with meditation, you know, the first thing you hear is that, oh, you have to like not think about anything, right? The purpose of meditation is for you to sit there and not think about anything. That's not going to happen. Your brain's not going to do that. You're not going to, that's not how it works, right? So instead of trying to suppress, allow things to happen in your brain, but don't be so attached to each one of them, right? Like, watch the thoughts come and go. And the waterfall metaphor that I like to give people is it's like you're sitting behind a waterfall, right? So you're like under a waterfall, but you're in sort of a little alcove or cave behind it, and you're watching it fall out in front of you from behind it, but you're not reaching out and grabbing it. You're not getting sucked into it. You're just watching it, right? So that's sort of a thought that you can attach to the goal of meditation, is to watch your thoughts come and just let them go. Watch them come, let them go.
So like the waterfall's here and the scene is out there, and so you're able to distance yourself and not get so...
Yeah, the idea is that you're sort of trying to take a step back from your thoughts, from all the rabbit holes that you can go down. Try not to go down them. Just look, oh, that's there. Okay, I'm going to leave it right there. Wonder what else is going to come up. And then you watch the next thing come, and then you just sort of let it go.
Okay, so somebody's at home and they're watching this now and they're like, maybe I should give this a try. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
What's a safe way for them to start?
I would say that a perfect way to start is find a comfortable seat. It could be on the couch. It could be on the floor. It could be on a yoga block. It could be on a pillow. It could be in your bed. It could be lying down. Find something that your body feels at ease. And then close your eyes. And what I like to do is look at the space that's between your eyes and whatever your thoughts are producing on what is called your mind screen. Okay?
Okay.
If you close your eyes, you can kind of like, you might be able to see some stuff happening, like light and some random stuff. sit there, close your eyes, look at your mind screen, and watch what happens, but don't get attached to it. And breathe in and out of your nose. Fully in through your nose, fully out through your nose. And if you could do this try a minute. Yeah, try a minute. And see if you can just do that for a whole minute without getting sucked into a rabbit hole. And then try 2 minutes. And as you get better at it, just try to increase the time that you can. And it's not about being good at it. It's not about it's not a contest. You're not trying to win a race here. You're trying to increase your ability to pay attention.
I have a great question that just came in my head. Your dad was first. Who was he before? Who was he after?
That's a great question. It'd be great to have him on this podcast. Who was he before? My dad he's a hard worker. He's kind of like me, kind of a little bit verging workaholic. And not overly anxious, but had a lot of energy and a lot of energy to put into something, right? And something about my dad is that when he gets interested in something, he will go for it. He will absolutely set his mind to it and will not stop until he's got it down pat, right? And his newest thing, this is an aside, but he's a handstander. And so he then turned me on to that too, and so now I'm going down that path too. But anyway, he got his sights set on it, and he just went for it. And that's something about him that really I think is key.
Wow. Okay, so the handstand that you just did at the awards banquet, we owe that to your dad too.
Yeah,
that's pretty
yeah,
cool. On stage,
yeah,
the dude is walking around on his hands saying, "Hey, what's up, everybody?"
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so he was anxious, but not like overly anxious, and then the new him was more what?
Mindful and more. He found something that he could really teach to people, because he found himself wanting to learn and go down this rabbit hole and master it. And then he became an amazing teacher. So did my mom. They became amazing yoga teachers, and they found something that they could really help people with. And when you teach a yoga class, there's got to be a little bit of substance there. Like you could teach a yoga class that's, a sequence of poses and telling people to breathe and this, that, and the other. But what can I take home with me? What can I remember from class that is gonna come in handy for me in life, right? And they became really intrigued by that. And so that's what they set out to do.
Gosh.
Yeah.
How cool. I mean, like, really, how cool. This is a genuine question. How wonderful is it to be able to do something that is going to change that person's life for the better?
It's the best feeling in the world. That's how I feel about real estate, too. And that's why I love both of those things. Because you're playing a role in someone's life that's more important than they realize, and oftentimes is more important than you realize at the time. And so if you could give someone just a single thought, a single nugget of something to take home with them, then that thing will sprout into a lot of beautiful progress.
And how, the impact of that person who came in. I heard a story about a woman who she ended up becoming a yoga teacher, but she went to her first class, and all she could do was lay there and cry. She just cried the whole time. She laid there and cried. Sure. And when it was all over, the teacher came up, touched her on the shoulder, and said, "You're okay. I don't know what's going on, but whatever it is, just keep coming." And she did. She kept coming, and then she ended up becoming a yoga teacher. What is it normal for emotions to be released during yoga?
Absolutely. It happens all the time because it's such a unique space. where you're practicing something on your own with other people. And it's a space where oftentimes, you feel really safe and secure. And there's varying degrees of that, of course, but if you do feel like you are safe and secure and you're getting into these emotional centers in your body and you're physically moving them, then they will release. And I said something in our mastermind, and it's like a classic yoga, thing. Your issues are in your tissues. If you're stressed out, I carry stress in my neck. So my neck is jacked up most of the time because, I just, real estate.
No, I don't know.
So, but different people carry different stress in different ways. And so for some people it's their back, for some people it's their hips, for some people it's their neck, like me, or their anything, right? And when you focus on those things and you start to lengthen and strengthen with a very intentional practice, it's very normal for things to get emotional. It's a little bit of a weird concept for people to understand. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how could stretching my hips make me want to get emotional? You're not going to believe it until you feel it, but because that is really sort of a very, it's visceral. It's like it's in your body and it comes out of nowhere.
And guys, on a different plane, I can definitely back that up. The issues are in the tissues. Everything that you've ever stuffed down in your lifetime, every time that somebody hurt your feelings and you just smiled and acted like they didn't, every time little things happen, it stays in your body until you release it. There's several different ways to release it, and yoga I never really realized was one of them. That's pretty exciting.
Totally. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you've been practicing for how many years now?
Practicing for, since 2016. So that's
9 years.
9 years, going on 9 years, yeah.
9 years. And if somebody said to you, you're not allowed to do yoga anymore.
That would suck. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I could quit. I don't know what life is without it. Really.
Right. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, and we have a mutual friend, Sat Gudamak, who is
Yeah.
very calm. And I remember Ashley, he's on Ashley Schaefer's team, but I remember Ashley saying once that there was someone screaming at her and him, and he must have been behind the waterfall. Because it didn't impact him. He was just as calm because most of us believe that if somebody gets in my face and is rah, 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 I have to react. But instead of reacting, you're saying respond. And so do you have a story personally of where somebody really tried?
If I do, I've probably blocked it out because I tend not to, I tend to just let things like that go. When something like that happens to me, I dwell on it for a day or two. Like it hurts, like it physically hurts, but then now I know that if I move and if I breathe and if I work on it mentally and physically, then I don't need to hold on to it. So honestly, at the moment, I don't know, I can't draw on anything, but that if I have had those things, and I know I have, I know that in order to not hold on to it like that, I know what to do now.
To release it.
Yeah.
So are you familiar with the fact that wild animals, after they've escaped a predator, they run and they run and they run, and they escape a predator, and you can YouTube this, it's fascinating. Once they're alone, they'll shake their whole body.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
Humans don't do that, but we should, because what they're doing is they're releasing all of that tension.
Yeah, right.
And they're not whining about yesterday like we are. Well, this happened to me 15 years ago, and it's still impacting me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course it's still impacting you because it's still physically in your tissues. That is mind-boggling.
Yeah, actually, the first time I heard that, it was about dogs. When they, if you're sort of messing with them and you're roughhousing with your dog, they'll get up and they'll shake it off, and then they're like, love you to death still after, right? And it makes sense. It makes sense because they're not going to emotionally attach to it.
Hold on to
Yeah.
it. You gotta let it go, let it go. Okay, so I'm a big fan of coaching, obviously, because I are one, and I also understand the need to sometimes do it all by yourself. So if somebody is gonna do it by themselves, are there any teachers that are online that you would recommend? We're gonna get to going into the studio because you have to have a real in-person, in my opinion, person. But what tips do you have?
Yoga is an easy thing to find online.
But how do you find the right one?
Yeah, I think the right one is going to depend on what you're looking for. Because if you're looking for, let's say it's a back strengthening sequence, or it's a hip opening sequence, or it's a 5-minute energy boosting morning flow, or whatever you're looking for. Start easy, start short, and just experiment with the different teachers that are out there. There's a lot of different YouTube channels and accounts that you can follow and just watch videos online, and you can do it on your own. That's an easy way to start. Get a mat, get a few square feet in your house, do it outside, do it, go to a park and get your earbuds in and, just stretch out and move. And honestly, I'm at the point right now, and it's not hard to get to this point, where let's say you've done 20, 30 yoga classes. You're like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this, right? You then have the ability, you have a vocabulary of yoga movements and flows and sequences and combinations of stuff, and then you also know what feels best for you. So if you are someone that needs to do something on your own, then roll out your mat, lay on the floor, and then feel it out and do what you feel like you need. Spend 20 minutes stretching out and doing what you need, and breathe in and out your nose on purpose the whole time. That's a good way to that's a good goal to set for somebody that needs to do it on their own.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a really good way, guys, for you to kind of get started. Just take baby steps if you want to. And I will tell you, for me personally, I did yoga off of my Wii years and years ago.
Sure.
And it was very cool because it would know whether or not I was balanced. It would know, and it would tell me all that stuff. And it was a great practice. And then I don't know, I got away from it and I just kind of stopped. And then I got taken to a yoga retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So all in, you guys, I mean all in. The people who could sit like that and have their knees practically on the ground. It was crazy. If someone wants, they're scared to come, but they want to. What class at your studio should they take first?
It's a great question, and we get this a lot. And so my answer is, it's really not one or the other. I want you to pay attention to what would feel better in your body. So the differences, here's the classes that we have. One is a flow class. The flow class is you're doing a lot of vinyasas, you're moving up and down a lot.
What's a vinyasa?
A vinyasa is, it's like the classic, you're gonna have a little push-up, you're gonna do an up dog and then a down dog, and then you're gonna do it for a few times, and it's called a sun salutation. And a vinyasa class is where you've got a set of poses that sort of string together, and then you've got a couple of those sets connected by vinyasas. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So a flow class that's what that looks like. The other class that we have is a static class. Now, a static class it's how it sounds. You're not moving as much. You're doing a lot more standing postures. You're going to be less on your wrists, and so if you have wrist problems, or if you feel like you have excessive trouble moving from a down dog to getting your feet under you and standing up, right? If that is something you want to do a little bit later, then a static class I think would be a good place to start. But I really don't think there's one that's easier than the other. What I always tell people is that every class at Sweat is as hard as you want to make it. You can do all of it, you can do none of it. You can watch everybody else. You can do every other pose. You can do poses that you want to do. You don't have to do ones that you don't want to do. The point, though, is to show up and do the work. So we have a saying at the studio, it's be here, be humble, do the work. And so we take pride in people that show up regularly. They practice with intent, and they're there to do the work. So I would say it's dealer's choice. I would just pick one, try it, and see how you feel. The best part about a beginner coming to a public yoga class is that even if you don't know what you're doing, let's say you have zero clue what you're doing, the teacher will explain things to you, and you can also watch people around you that do know what they're doing. You don't get that at home. You don't get that in your own space, right? You can't look to your left or your right and say, oh, okay, that's how you do that, right? And that's how you learn, right?
Well, and the instructor can't say you're absolutely holding it the wrong way, so you're not getting what you think you're getting.
Yeah, depending on the instructor, right? I would say depending on the teacher and depending on the class, but in general, yes. Yeah, I mean, you should find a spot where you should find a spot between too much and not enough, right? And stay in that slot.
So push yourself a little, but not over.
Yeah, the goal is to push yourself and to find that edge, but don't overexert yourself, because our studio, all of our classes, all our yoga classes are hot. So
why is that? What is up with the sweat?
So the hot yoga, and just a little bit about our system. Our system makes the room body temperature. Okay, it's about 98 degrees. It'll fluctuate a little bit depending on how many people are in there, and it's like 75% humidity. Okay, so you walk in there and it's like a jungle. Okay, you're like, oh, it's hot in here. Like, I can't imagine working out in here. And you're like, for people that are unfamiliar with it, like, that's a little intimidating. So take that slowly too. Come in, set up, and just take it piece by piece. The heat in general will allow you, one, it's just challenging. One, it's hard. So that it's meant to be hard, right? One of the benefits is that a lot of the time you'll be able to get a little deeper into the poses, and you'll be able to feel your range of motion and feel the actual posture a little bit more. Whereas if you're doing sort of room temperature yoga, you're kind of stuck in your habitual stance, and you sort of go in and out of the motions a little bit, is my thought. Now the sweat, you're getting rid of toxins. You're flushing your body. It's really good for you. Rehydration and prehydration is really important. We have electrolyte drinks, and we have all kinds of protein and coconut water and stuff for people before or after classes. So that's all there for you if you need it. But it's really important, and it's actually really good for you. You really process the crap that is in your body. You really start to push out some toxins.
Oh, no doubt. And I know that because of the research I've done on saunas.
Yes.
It's wild, you guys. 4 20-minute saunas at 160 or above a week, and I can't remember what the result was. It's just absolutely unbelievable when you get that junk out of your body.
It's really, really good for you.
So do you have showers there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fully stocked locker rooms. I would say for those that have not been there, I would we have mats. We have mats for everybody. Bring your own shower towel. Bring a yoga towel to put on your mat, because it's going to get slippery. Bring a face towel, and bring a change of clothes. And water. Bring water.
So I was thinking about my experience in the sauna, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but you tell me. When somebody's first coming there and they're not used to the hot, if they have a cold drink, it will help. No?
There's a couple varying schools of thought here. If you want to get real intense down, are you familiar with Ayurveda?
Yes.
The yogic science, the sister thing of yoga? Yeah. So according to Ayurveda, cold water is never good for you, right? So it sort of puts out the fire in your belly.
Cold anything, nothing with
Cold,
ice.
yeah. Ice in general in Ayurveda is not anything that you should be ingesting. Now, if you're, really hot and you're like on the verge of passing out, or you feel dizzy, or you feel, a drink of cold water definitely helps. It's my personal favorite. I like to have cold water in there because I try not to drink a ton during class, but after class it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. It is wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our bodies are just so amazing. Okay, so what questions have I not asked you that I should have?
Oh man. We sometimes get asked like, hey, is there any age restriction on coming to hot yoga? And I think in general our answer is 13, 14. I think you'd be safe. You can come in there and practice with us. We've had younger kids that want to come and do it with us, and that's totally fine. But I think as a rule of thumb, for hot yoga, I think that's probably a good start.
Okay. All right. Awesome. What books, what podcasts, if somebody's curious and wants to know more?
One Simple Thing is great. Eddie Stern, I think that's a good one.
Say it again. Great.
One Simple Thing by Eddie Stern.
Okay.
Let's see. There's a book, if you want to get a little bit more into yogic philosophy, the Path of the Sutras by Nikolai something. That's a great place to start because it's a very digestible version of what the yogic text, what really yoga came from. And that's a whole nother conversation, right? Because yoga really started in East India, and as it came over here, it was sort of westernized, and it's a lot different than what it used to be. Excuse me. And I think in general, we've sort of gotten away from the real meaning of what yoga is, and now it's kind of a fitnessy thing, which is great, right? Get your fitness, stretch out, sweat it out, right? I would just say that there should be some recognition of where this all came from. So that's a good one to check out.
Get back to the roots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the last question that I ask everyone, because you are on Think Your Way to an Epic Life.
Yes.
And I also know that you're in the culture that I'm in with Keller Williams,
Yes.
and so I
Mm-hmm.
know you have some tips for our folks on how they can think their way to their own epic life.
Oh man, it's a tall order, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think visualization is key, and I think showing up and treating things like a practice is key. Getting a coach is key. Getting someone to help you learn how to think your way to an epic life, because you could sit there and be like, okay, I'm gonna visualize myself in an epic life, and 3, 2, 1, nope, still here, right?
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, get someone to give you some tactics. Get someone to help with some accountability, and treat it like a practice. Treat it like something that you are enjoying being a beginner at. Enjoy being a beginner because it only happens once. And I think with a little bit of a mindset shift, a lot is possible. Because I think what I take from the title of this, Think Your Way to an Epic Life, I think that is really geared toward mindset. And I think it's the way that you think. And I think it's the way that you perceive things and the way that you respond to things. Right?
Instead of react.
Am I getting that?
You're right on.
Okay, so I think that's great. And I think that yoga is a great step in the right direction.
And so because you're here today, you're bringing something very special to our folks.
Yeah.
What is that?
So what we want to offer you is, if you go to our website, you can make an account. You can just click register, fill out a little form. What you should know is that if you've never been to Sweat Yoga Studio before, your first class is free. You have that as an option. Or you can there's an option to pay $30 for a whole week of all you can do yoga. The other thing that I want to offer you is that with the promo code AVERY, A-V-E-R-Y, you could get 20% off a 5-class pack. So it's like a punch card for 5 classes. That'll be valid until the end of May. So get on that.
Right on. That's a great way to start, guys. And Benjamin Franklin said to pour the coins of your purse into your mind and your body are one. And until you get them all working together, you can pour all kinds of coins and you don't get there until you release a lot of the stuff that's in your tissues. So please check them out. The best way to talk to either one of us is actually on YouTube. You may be listening to this on Spotify or something else, but if you put comments on YouTube, either of us can and will respond to you. So thank you so much.